So let's fly over the Flavius, Mareka, Tvet college campuses located in the northern Free State. And what I want you to look out for is a small little kind of a circle you can see in between the Kroonstad campus and the Sasolburg campus. Now that little zone is known as the Fredefort Dome and Crater, and it's the site of the oldest and largest meteorite impact on Earth. In other words, the single biggest known energy release event that our world has ever known. Basically, a meteorite the size of Table Mountain smashed into that zone there, creating a huge hole. The meteorite was completely eviscerated, and the big hole quickly rebounded back and formed a dome, like a big bump made out of the deep granite underneath the earth. So that's why it's known as the Fredefort Dome rather than the crater, because there was actually a big bump of granite over there. But now notice as we kind of circulating around the dome that there are these huge mining towns. That was Welkom behind us. Here we have Klerksdorp, and now there we've got Witbank, and so we're moving on to the Great Witwatersrand. Basically what happened was, when the meteorite smashed into the ground, it created these massive fissures. And into these fissures, slowly but surely, the gold seeped in there, forming these huge deposits of gold. And then luckily, the huge amounts of dust caused by the explosion from the meteorite then covered this whole area. So it was protected and it didn't erode away. And that's why we also have such deep mines, because when the meteorite smashed in and caused the fractures, it also caused the kind of horizontal surface to then go into like these deep diagonal rifts all around the crater, forming the deep gold mines which we have, which go 2, 3, 4 kilometers thick into the ground. So now we're coming to Kroonstad, and you'll notice there's no mines around it. There was a small diamond mine here, but that's because it's inside the area of the crater rather than further out like Witbank and those other mining towns. So it's more of an agricultural town. Big farms in the area have got wheat and dairy and wool, and there's quite a lot of meat processing going on in this zone. It's also got a huge railway line, so that junction over there feeds the line from Joburg all the way through to Bloemfontein and down to Cape Town. And that river you can see running through it is the Vals River. And you'll notice the beautiful white suburbs on your left, all nice and green, with the central town there in the middle, and later on we'll visit the Black Township zones. Now, Flavius Mareka is an excellent TVET college. It's got around about 9,000 full-time students. And in this Kroonstad campus, they really got a plumbing center of specialization. You also have civil engineering and building construction. You can do office administration and human resources. You can become a management assistant over here. Importantly, they've got a whole bunch of part-time programs. Like you can do computer practice. You can do your international computers driver's license. You can even do a Cisco kind of IT skills thing accredited by Cisco itself. And also, it's got an excellent set of residences. In fact, Flavius Mareka has a whole bunch of residences across its Kroonstad and Sasolburg campuses, which really enable the students to stay in the area and become a part of the Flavius Mareka spirit. Now let's pull out a little bit over Kroonstad, past the beautiful Vals River, and get a sense of the more urban spatial geography and layout of Kroonstad as a whole. And there you can see the mainly white areas located around the central business district. And what I want you to firstly look out for is in the middle over there is a small place called Marabastad. Now that was the old location. It also had a colored location called Cairo over there. And what happened was the people in that area were forced to relocate outwards, either into that small little colored township, now called Brent Park, and the huge and still growing Mahokeng. which has a proud history of struggle and resistance, by the way. Lots of powerful ANC stalwarts and UDF members come from this area. Also a tough history of vigilantism with the 3 Million Gang, who were partly set up to try and counter the growing conscientization of the black people in the area. Also a very proud history of education in this zone, with highly respected black leaders and teachers having made a huge difference in terms of literacy in the zone. And it is here that you have the Mpuhadi campus. Now it's really like a learnership and skills programs campus. So you can do beading and weaving and paper mache and clothing and cooking and hair care. And from here you can actually take those skills, they organize the skills for other towns like Heilbronn and Koppies and Parys. On top of that, you can also do educare. They've got a big educare program over here. And you can do electrical and civil engineering. Now, as we pull out, I want you to look carefully for the Marabastad and the Cairo townships, because really it was like an old District 6. You know, it wasn't only Cape Town that had these mixed neighborhoods where people were living in an integrated way. This was happening across South Africa and often then destroyed and taken away. And often near the center of town, in a good zone, near the railways, near the river, near the industrial area. And that's the zone that was basically destroyed, like District 6 and like Sophia Town, and then forced to move out, in this case all the way through to Brent Park on the one side, or Mpuhadi. So now we're going to pull out of Kroonstad and we're going to kind of travel through this greatest release of energy in the history of our Earth. Now it happened 2 billion years ago, so almost everything's been eroded. Right, so the dome that was in the middle is gone. And what you have rather is you have this little collar which is on the side of the dome, which are known as the Dome Mountains, which is now a World Heritage Site, which is basically the only evidence we have left of that catastrophic event. In fact, scientists fought for like 50, 60 years about whether there was even something like a catastrophic meteorite in the area. It was only resolved around about 15, 20 years ago. So now we've kind of tracking the Vaal River, and we're now flying through on the zone between Gauteng and the Northern Free State into Sasolburg. Now it looks to me like an apartheid butterfly. So you can see its white head at the top. You've got Sasolburg, the one white suburb, and then below you've got Vaal Park with its beautiful golf course abutting the Vaal River. And then you've got the black township of Zamdela over there, and you've got the industrial heartland in between. And it's right next to that industrial abdomen that we find the Sasolburg campus. It's an excellent campus. It's divided into two, actually. It's got a business studies side and it's got an engineering side. And it's here that you have the electrical engineering center of specialization, as well as a chemical plant operation kind of special focus area, and also a welding special focus area. And in all of these programs, what they basically do is for 4 days you do theory, and then for the 5th day you actively go out into industry to learn what's going on and to practice your skills. And then finally in your 4th year you go do a full year apprenticeship, at the end of which you can actually then be fully qualified as an artisan. And it also means in that time period that you do get paid by industry to do the qualification and for the actual work you do. So you have a contract with an employer which actually teaches you the responsibilities of what it actually means to be an artisan. So you're not only just learning the skill set and the theory, you're learning the habits and the discipline that you actually need to be successful in these zones, to get up at the right time, to be respectful, to be attentive, to make sure that you do the work properly, otherwise you risk being fired. And one of the reasons why it's so successful here is because of the huge industrial scale and all the different things going on in Sasolburg. So let's just try and show it to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out over the white suburb of Sasolburg. I actually had family over here, and we used to come here every couple of weeks and play in Sasolburg. I've got very fond memories of the town. It had civic centres and all sorts of stuff to try and generate a cultural vibe. Now, the big thing to notice is firstly you have huge chemical plants which are producing all sorts of solvents and plastics and ammonia and fertilizers. So you've got a huge fertilizer industry where the farmers buy fertilizer from here. You not only have that, you obviously have the conversion of coal into oil, but then you also have the attempt to make sure that you're working with gas. So you've got a big gas electrical plant working over there as well. And what Sasol has tried to do is generate an innovative platform where they're continuously experimenting and trying out new technologies. Initially, it was a very proud Afrikaner development in apartheid times, basically to produce oil from coal, and that became crucial when the sanctions started to happen. And the ANC, by the way, bombed that in 1980 and caused a huge ruckus. Now, you also have right there, you have the Letaba power station located on the banks of the Vaal River. So what you get a sense of in the Sasolburg area is the huge amount of industrial development cutting across electricity, petrol, plastics, fertilizers, all sorts of waxes and solvents and all of that. And it's that which makes possible the work integrated learning and the apprenticeship systems where you can take kids from the tvet colleges and actually give them an active place to learn. So that gives us first sight of the Flavius, Mareka, tvet college campuses located in the northern part of the Free State with its 9,000 full-time students and its 3,000 part-time students, its excellent artisanal programs, its learner centres located in places like Parys and Heilbronn and Koppies in Villiers, located around the Vredefort Dome with its huge granite resources, which have actually built railway stations and police stations and all sorts of buildings in South Africa. The granite coming from the deepest part of our crust as the result of a meteorite which smashed into Earth, creating a hole that was 40 kilometers deep and 100 kilometers wide before exploding outwards and making a dome and creating the huge gold reserves in the area, which have resulted in South Africa actually being the country that it is, and the tvet colleges we have in South Africa taking on the flavor that they have. All of this happening on our beautiful planet called Earth, currently heading for another huge extinction event, except this time it's not a meteorite hurtling towards Vredefort. It's us as human beings generating way too much pollution for our beautiful planet to absorb and hold in equilibrium.